Hi, host Derek here of Talking with Famous People, and tonight I want to run through an idea that I came up with here, which is basically to present to you two things. One, a meta framework of understanding the associative process of extroverted intuition, and number two, understanding how one ought to think about or metacognate about distinct ideas and what one ought to do with them. So, from my perspective, making these YouTube videos, they give you sort of a general introduction here, is a process of trying to come up with a variety of different distinct ideas and make videos about them. And I'd rather not repeat myself if possible, but there's a certain amount of repeating oneself that one must do because one cannot assume that there's a background information of people who've watched your other videos, right? So sometimes you have to explain the same thing over and over again if you go into similar topic areas. And that's fine. I always try to come up with different ways to say it or different analogies, things like that. Okay, so as far as distinct ideas go, I just want to basically run through a bunch of distinct ideas I've had, and maybe you can get a feel for how the associative process works in the process. I've got a video out there, I've got a video done in which I go to Home Depot with Delilah and talk about light bulbs in the Home Depot, and I don't like the video, it's very shaky, but I'd like to take the audio from it. I got some slides already half made on this, my light bulb theories, which are basically, I don't like the new kind of light bulbs. And then you may have noticed, if you're a regular viewer, that I've made a few dictionary ones, which is what I call it. It's a category video which I talk about a specific word and how you can attain better achievement in that area. I've done turgid, coquettish, and delinerate. Delinerate. That's the word so far. I'm thinking about doing gravid. I had gravid down here. Gravid with moisture. A couple ways you can get gravid, for example, would be get pregnant, experience tragedy. I don't know. Having said that, I'm not sure there's much more joke there. But I really have. This is a good idea I want to do, which is sounding literary. How to sound literary in your writing. And then, okay, next, I jumped over to the right-hand column here, but I want to jump over back to the left. Social factors. So much to be said about the social factors and relationships between people on the internet. For example, as I begin to interact with various channels and reach out to a number of different people, a variety of ways, by leaving reply videos, by making comments on videos and stuff like that, I am interacting with different makers of videos, and there's a few female ones in particular I'd mention, and I'd also talk about a few males that I've interacted with who tend not to be the makers. So there's an interesting distinction there, and there's obviously a bunch of social factors to be considered when interacting that have to do with gender that are interesting to talk about. I have a personal story down here. This sort of associates from girl, which is regarding this girl back in college named Arwen who, well, I'll save the story for another day. It's a good story. The personal story really hits the emotional buttons, perhaps, or makes me feel wistful even thinking about it now. Anyway, back to the social factors. I did want to mention the names. The three names I have down here are, as far as the three female makers, are ENTP girl, Dwellfussius. How the fuck you say that? Dwellfussius? Fussius? Dwellfussius? Dwellfussius? Dwellfussius. It's a strange sounding word. And so malicious. Now, I've got some names of some friends down here from real life. Matt Gibbons. They are individuals who are fairly high productivity, high level makers who aren't as engaged in promotion as perhaps they could be. And I was just thinking about how to integrate some of their stuff more. Also, I got down then here virtual debate, the virtual debate videos that I made where I compete two types against each other, and that video was doing particularly well in a short period of time. You sort of noticed the analytics today that it's garnering views quickly and has a high watch time. So that's encouraging and makes me want to do the second round of that. The second one of the first round of that. And then I also have here an interesting notion of doing something on sort of forbidden words that really aren't forbidden, but people kind of feel like they ought to be, or they sort of are. For example, slanty is rarely used in a way that doesn't offend somebody. Niggardly. Niggardly is a word that does not have anything to do with any racial slur, but people hear the word and it makes them very uncomfortable. So if I just made you very uncomfortable, I have to say you're being somewhat niggardly in your open-mindedness regarding the etymology of the language. Okay, and another one, chink. Chink in the armor. That headline got somebody fired because it was an article about Jeremy Lin. Interesting. Okay, so let's go on to the next thing. I covered that topic. Now I don't really cover that topic ever again, probably. But thought I'd mention it. I think that's called towing the line, right? So titling is box. Okay, well, I've noticed a lot in YouTube that there's titling things that are very effective and I guess effective, and also some that seem less effective. So for me, I've tried to emulate the things that I see other people do that work or appear to work. I've tried to come up with some random ideas that I just try, and I've just tried to be as descriptive as possible in some. I've tried a lot of different approaches, in other words, with titling. Using exclamation points. I'm not normally one to use a lot of exclamation points, but I'm fine with it. It's more reflective of my actual spirit about the thing, actually. So yeah, exclamation points, question marks. Key thing, make it about you, right? You got to put a you in there somewhere, ideally. I don't know if it really works, but the bottom line is people want to watch videos that relate to them. They don't want to watch videos about Eric talking about his day and how he went to go get bread at the store and stuff, right? So I try to make at least somewhat relevant stuff. I've thought also it would be very interesting to take on, to position myself in, why not? Position myself in a aesthetics peer coaching role of some sort, which is, I see a lot of people making YouTube videos, and I think that there are certain things that they can do, there's certain easy things that they can do to make their videos better, move more quickly, things that they might think of. I'm not suggesting people do anything. I suggest people do exactly what they want. If they want to make a rambling video for their own purposes, and if people want to watch it, that's fine, then that is exactly what they should do. And they shouldn't worry about anything that I say, okay? But if they want to focus on improving videos, I got some ideas on the matter. I used to do a show called Box Monitor, the podcast review podcast, and we did 85 episodes, reviewed hundreds of podcasts, because we usually did 2 or 3 an episode. And I did nothing but give a bunch of feedback on how to do editing, what to focus on, and these sort of things, that kind of stuff. So I do kind of know what I'm talking about, and I do think about it a lot, and I make an effort in my own videos, sloppy though they may be. And that's the other thing, is I can take on kind of a peer coaching role, because my videos aren't like pro or anything, right? It's just some dude sitting in a sloppy ass garage. Look how pro I got. I painted something there. That's pretty pro. Yeah, but I do try to be attentive to aesthetic concerns. So I also wanted to talk about here framing against something to which people can relate. I did that somewhat. Entertainment is particularly hard. Music's really hard. For example, as a person who watches some YouTube videos, I rarely watch any music that I don't already know, and I'm not already seeking it out. I rarely seek out new music. When I do encounter new music, it's usually because somebody else played it for me, and often then I was sort of reluctant to hear it, but it ended up being like, yeah, you're right, I'm glad you made me listen to that. There's something weird about music, and a lot of people feel like they're comfortable with their existing music, their existing set of options, and or they feel as though their library of things they want to listen to is plenty big already, So in that sense, it's hard to do entertainment stuff in general. If you're just being purely entertaining, you're not trying to be helpful at all. In general, it's good to be helpful, of course, for a variety of reasons. One, most importantly, if you are successfully helpful, then you've functionally generated more wealth in the world, right? If we were to make this a metaphor for labor, when somebody applies their labor to a physical object like a piece of lumber, they convert it into something useful. They manufacture value greater than the value of the material itself. So, in the same regard, one would hope that making a YouTube video that somebody finds useful, a YouTube video that speaks words to them that they choose to think about and or internalize and or utilize to adjust their own thinking or models in ways that are useful to them, then in my mind I've created some sort of time wealth. And actually, I mean, YouTube ends up converting it to actual wealth for me in the form of 16 cents, 16 cents a month. Something like that. I think I got 16 cents last month almost. I think I did. Or maybe it was 15. Got anything else on this paper? Sure, yeah. Channel business approach. I like channel business videos, and I kind of consider this like a channel business video where I'm talking about what I might do, what I'm thinking about. I think we all need an outlet for putting our thoughts down somewhere where we can reference them later, or even if we can't reference them later, where we can know that we could reference them later if we wanted to. So I'm saying you don't necessarily have to reference it later for it to be of value to know that it is referenceable. And I'd say the reason for that is specific to your type. For somebody like me, whose purpose is to create the identity, my identity, my own, of course, not yours, this is really, really important because I need to see that lineup of identity components stretching back through time so I can understand who I am in time and where I'm going. I mean, I understand basically where I'm going, but understanding where I am at any moment. I said this in another video, and I thought it was very true, and I want to repeat it. The ENTP has a problem. We know where we're going, but we don't know where we are. We don't know how fast we're going, and we don't know when we're going to get there. Yeah. So anyway, with the channel business approach, I just say whenever I make a video, I've got a variety of different choices to consider, and it's always interesting to me to make videos about these decision-making processes and thinking about the thing that I'm doing. Now, at a certain point, you begin to lose the interest of people not that far along this chain of metaing up. The amount of distance an ENTP can create between himself and the thing he's talking about is astonishingly large if he's naturally inclined towards taxonomy, as I am. So anyway, some of these choices are things like editing or not editing. I got to trust the analytics. The edited videos are not necessarily performing any better than the unedited videos. Personality stuff in general performs much better than non-personality stuff. Most of my traffic from search comes from ENTP, INTP, stuff like that. Mostly ENTP. Video still images. Videos with video in them do better than videos with just still images in them. So, and even if I have a succession of slides, it's better to have, I think, me talking and the slide on the side of it, so you have both, than it is to have just me talking in the background with the slides going past and you can't actually see my face. And one wouldn't expect, looking at this face, that it would help to look at the face. What we think it would probably help to have the slides covering the face over. But as a matter of fact, I think that people want to connect with the person who's saying the words in a video, and for many people, probably most people, that includes looking at the person. It does for me, I know. I'm always telling people, well, I want a video conference. I don't want to just talk on the phone, ideally. And the reason is because I want to be able to read people's facial expressions. I want to be able to get a sense of what they're feeling. As an extrovert feeler, it's a natural approach to take. This may end up going to 20 minutes, this video, but like I said, one never knows how these things are going to play out until one sees them play out in the analytics. Is this a video that's really kept your attention and you're still watching it right now and moving right along and thinking, I'm not going to change it right now. Oh no, this is getting too exciting. Or are you long gone? It's hard for me to tell. Maybe introverted intuitors would know better. Okay, so factors to consider when making the video: edit or not edit. If I don't edit, do I want to go VA or no? Visual aids or no visual aids? I could do visual aids like this, you know. I could do a no edit where I show you the paper. I think these are all my notes on this thing, but that's one way to no edit. Or I could just not have any visual aids and just talk. It's basically what I'm doing this time. I don't know if the visual aids really help in this instance. They're just notes to sort of keep me on track. If I don't choose to edit, if I go in knowing I don't want to edit, what's one thing I can do? Well, I can plan. And then that's ideally, if I can stay according to my plan, I can follow the plan, and if I'm pretty good at speaking fluidly without having to have the whole thing scripted out, without having to read anything, then I should be able to stay more or less on track and keep the thing moving forward in such a way that people might remain interested. All right, next let me talk about practicing. Well, I notice I'm getting better at it. I'm getting better at it because I'm practicing it all the time. Practicing speaking in front of the camera. I'm practicing thinking about how the patience of the viewer is going to be impacted by what I'm doing at any given moment during the video. And I'm thinking about the larger scale things, the arc of the video as a whole, and the buttons that need to be pushed, which is the next thing I want to get into here at 1640. Buttons to push. Emote. When I'm expressing emotion, which I'm not really doing intentionally, but when that occurs in videos, when I'm more reflective on my own failings, when I'm more reflective on things about my life that cause me trouble, that seems to be more, it seems to be more popular, basically. That people respond more to that. I think it humanizes me. It makes them feel as though I'm a nice person rather than an asshole. And the problem is, of course, I'm both. I really am, and I try to minimize the assholery and maximize the nice person. And but regardless, you're going to get both in these videos, and it's odd. I get some comments and stuff. I get it from Delilah. I get the hint of it from some other people who I've gotten comments from, and I'm not saying like, hey, you shouldn't say that, or I wish you'd say that to my face. But hinting's fine. I don't care. I mean, I can read between the lines. That when I go into dominant guy mode, people don't like that guy. They simply do not like him. They don't think there's anything cool about it. They don't think that it's useful to them. I think there may be a small subset of people who do think it's useful, but I don't know if that's necessarily a good thing, or an audience I necessarily want to cultivate particularly. I see it as demonstrative of my range, but most people see it as demonstrative of my nature, or as at least some part of my nature. So I don't know. Am I acting? Not really. I'm not acting either. Those sort of questions of intentionality and will and belief, they don't really seem to apply to me very much. And I don't mean to say that in any sort of dismissive way to, like, I'm too good for that. I mean it as, I don't understand it, really. I don't understand the difference between, I understand being aware and the occasional, I understand employing SI for this purpose, the regulation of the progression of ideas and the presentation of those ideas, not just the progression, right? The progression, how the presentation of the progression occurs. Oh, I suddenly feel sick. It's too much Starbucks, man. I'm only halfway finished it too, and it's half steamed milk, but it's still too strong for my stomach. That's gonna bring this video to a close. Thanks for watching. Sorry I didn't finish whatever thought I was thinking.